Hello, class, and welcome to EMS Vehicle Operator Safety Course. This is Lesson 6 on mental, emotional, and physical preparedness. Lesson 6 will cover techniques to increase your focus, key elements of a safety-first attitude, steps to reduce effective stress and emotion, and the importance of physical preparedness to operate an emergency vehicle. Like with any other public safety class, all of the certification exam questions are mapped to a learning objective. So let's take a couple of minutes and review the learning objectives for this lesson. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain the importance of mental, emotional, and physical preparedness. You should be able to discuss how avoiding distractions is a key component of safe vehicle operations. You should also be able to discuss how paying attention to details helps ensure safe vehicle operations. You should also be able to outline the key elements of a safety-first attitude. And you should be able to discuss the steps of an emergency vehicle operator can take to ensure emotional preparedness and reducing the effects of stress and emotion. You should also, finally, be able to explain the importance of physical preparedness in emergency vehicle operation, including hearing and vision testing and hazards related to physical ailments, sleep deprivation, and medication and substance use. Let's take a look at this following scenario. The fog was so thick that it was a virtual whiteout, making it nearly impossible to see the cars in front of one's vehicle or the headlights of oncoming traffic. An ambulance was transporting a 90-year-old patient for heart problems when it approached a standing red light. The emergency vehicle operator proceeded through the intersection with lights flashing, not engaging the siren until just 2 seconds before the ambulance broadsided a car with 2 occupants. The patient, emergency vehicle operator, and medic in the ambulance all suffered minor injuries, while both the driver and passenger in the car were killed. The patient eventually died of a heart condition several days later, but it was not considered related to the collision. Investigation found that the emergency vehicle operator was driving 70 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone and was under the influence of alcohol. The prosecutor stated that the patient's condition did not require the driver to exceed the speed limit. The emergency vehicle operator class was found guilty of 2 counts of homicide by vehicle and 2 counts of homicide by vehicle while driving under the influence. Okay, what do you do if you suspect a coworker of being unfit for duty? Again, these are rhetorical questions that you need to be thinking about, and you should be addressing these kind of questions in your orientation training when you get hired by your EMS agency. Here's another one to consider. What conditions require emergency transport to a hospital? Those conditions should be laid out in the standard operating procedures, or you need to sit down and discuss with your medic who's in the back treating the patient. And finally, let's take a look at the last question I have for you. What happens to your visibility and the visibility of emergency lighting in the fog? Well, I don't know about you, but I've been driving for well over 50 years. All right, and I can tell you, when it's fog like this, you can't even see the lights. As a matter of fact, the only light that you can probably see good is a blue light, and that's why a lot of the police vehicles now have red and blue lights on them. Let's take a look at the type of distractions. Okay, take a look. 13% of the distractions are under the influence of alcohol, which is the legal limit. Okay, that means they're 0.08 or below. 21% of the distractions on the highway are under the influence of marijuana. And 27% of the distractions on the highway it's by people or the driver talking on a hands-free cell phone. And then 37% of the distractions on a highway by the driver is the driver's attempting to text while he or she is driving. And finally, 46% of distracted drivers on the highway are talking on a handheld cell phone while trying to operate and drive their vehicle. A little bit about some mental preparedness. Emergency vehicle operators must be focused on the task of vehicle operation. Failure to focus on vehicle operations can have deadly consequences. In the airline industry, pilots are required to have a sterile cockpit during critical phases of operation. The sterile cockpit concept increases awareness and decreases errors caused by inattention due to distractions. Driving is the wrong time to be distracted by a cell phone or events in your personal life. Can we have a sterile cockpit while responding? I think so, absolutely. Should we change our focus? Okay, we should be focused on safety first. When responding, only respond. Do not mentally be on scene planning your treatment. Stay in the moment, okay? Keep your head on a swivel. Use the 5 keys of defensive driving and make sure you clear traffic safely. Cell phones, radios, and other devices are a major source of potential distraction. The use of cell phones in any form while driving is neither a safe nor accepted practice. Many states have laws that prohibit cell or texting. Texting is a major distraction. At a speed of 55 miles per hour, your vehicle will travel 60 feet in just 3/4 of a second. Studies show that texting while operating an emergency vehicle increases the likelihood of a collision by a factor of 23 because it takes the hands, eyes, and mind off of driving. Class, this is a video that I found on YouTube. Please copy off of the slide the link and then paste it into your browser to watch what happens in the first couple of seconds of a distraction. Okay? In class, here's a little exercise that you can try at home with a family member. So I want you to secure a tennis ball and bring it with you, okay, when your family is all together. At that point, I want to begin this interactive exercise that'll prove to you that a driver cannot focus on safety operating a vehicle and text at the same time. Hand the tennis ball to one of your family members or friends. Then you need to assign 2 family members or friends to assist you by watching the ball and keeping track of how many times it passes back and forth. Then you need to ask other members to stand and take out their cell phones. Next, ask your family members and friends to put one hand out as if holding on to a steering wheel. Then you need to ask them to text the message on the next slide, okay, to a family or friend. You should not use any shortcuts or use the voice to text feature while doing this exercise. Okay, now you can start texting and keep track of how many times the ball is passed back and forth. When your family or friends have finished texting, they need to say stop. Now ask the participants, okay, family and friends, how many times the ball has passed by a show of hands. 9, 10, 11, 12, or 13 times? Okay, have somebody, not participating in this exercise keep the actual count of how many times the tennis ball goes back and forth. You're going to be amazed. The mobile data terminal, also known as the MDT, is for use by the person in the passenger seat or when the vehicle is stopped. The MDT can be a helpful tool, but it can also be a distraction. Plan your route before leaving the station or scene. EMS services should have a standard operating procedure restricting the driver from using the MDT while driving, because it diverts the driver's attention, which ultimately is dangerous. You need to ensure everyone is properly restrained prior to moving the vehicle. Be aware of the roadway environment and any hazards present. Paying attention to details is a way to ensure everyone's safety. Watch for hazards such as one-lane bridges, low underpasses, weight restrictions, narrow roads, or hazardous locations. Pay close attention to your vehicle, the dash, console, gauges, and warning lights. Be aware of your surroundings at all times. Before moving the vehicle, take a quick walk around it. Okay, walk around the vehicle to make sure that there are no obstructions. Make sure there's no open cabinets or equipment on the back step or ground near the vehicle. You know, have you known anybody to leave the scene and then leave their equipment behind at the scene and then later on have to go back and get it? All right, I'm going to try to play this video right now. Okay, this video features drive cam footage of a motor vehicle crash involving an ambulance. The emergency vehicle operator is eating in the ambulance while he's unbelted, no seatbelt on. Okay, the video shows what happens to the providers in the front compartment upon impact. Let me play it one more time. Your personal attitude towards safe vehicle operations is the single most important element in reducing emergency vehicle collisions. Your ability to recognize limitations and have a mature attitude in dealing with these temporary conditions can save your life and that of your partner, patients, and the public. Emotions can result in a dangerous behavior if it's not controlled. Anger and hate can lead to aggressive driving. Controlling emotions is difficult, but essential for everyone's safety. Recognize the stress in your life and learn how to manage it. Know when you are stressed and take actions to prevent it from affecting your vehicle operation. Many organizations have employee assistance programs that can provide useful guidance on work stress. Some of the things may be difficult to control, but you are in control of your emotions. The loss of control of emotions can interfere with your ability to think, focus, and act. As the emergency vehicle operator, you are held to a higher standard and should not let your emotions control your actions. Common emotions that can affect your ability to make decisions include anger, love, hate, fear, grief, happiness. A major distraction leads to poor decision making or increased risk taking. Remember, it's going to be your responsibility to not bring your personal distractions to work and not to allow professional challenges to affect your decision-making abilities. Do not respond to other drivers showing sign of road rage. Always be courteous to other drivers. Remember that the vehicle you are operating is a billboard for your organization and profession. Consider that with today's technology, anything you do can be filmed and circulated on the internet almost immediately. Stress can cause physical symptoms such as headaches, hypertension, back pain, or an upset stomach. Recognize the signs: rapid breathing, nervousness or shaking, and an urge to do everything as quickly as possible. Consider deep breathing or slowly counting to 10 before leaving the scene. Do not allow your adrenaline to push you to take risky chances. Saving a minute, class, by putting the crew in danger never makes any sense. Common examples include the MCI, pediatric calls. Okay, MCI meaning mass casualty incident. Pediatric calls, an injury to death or a coworker, or a major injury. These types of situations that bother us and how they affect us will vary from person to person. Let me ask you a question. From your life experiences, what do you feel are stressful EMS situations? Okay, how about the other shift never cleans up the station? How about mandatory shifts or meetings on such a short notice or on your birthday? Or how about having to wait for extended time to give a report to the medical doctor or the registered nurse upon arrival in the emergency room? Stress causes increased adrenaline and cortisol levels. An increase in stress hormones increases the pulse rate and elevated blood pressure. An increase in adrenaline causes the pupils to dilate and take in more light. However, as blood is redistributed to the muscles and internal organs, peripheral vision is decreased and becomes tunnel vision. This is when your visual field is narrowed. Increased levels of stress hormones may cause increased risky behaviors and more emotional reactions such as frustration or anger. Physical reactions include gastrointestinal distress, headaches, back pain, hypertension, and tachycardia. Long-term stress can lead to memory and concentration problems. The enemy of the emergency vehicle operator is long-term stress. Now, to deal with stress, you got to recognize it and how it affects you. You have to practice safe driving habits every day. When under stress, you will default to muscle memory or well-practiced habits. Always know your physical status. Okay, do you have any physical limitations that could affect driving? Are you getting plenty of sleep? Know the effects of medications and do not consume alcohol, which could affect your ability to function. If a medication bottle or label says, and I quote, "do not operate machinery," end of quote, don't. Standard operating procedures should state zero tolerance for alcohol at least 8 hours prior to a shift. Okay, ask your EMS agency what's their policy. Regular physical exams include hearing and vision tests. Do not take your hearing for granted. Get it tested annually. EMS leaders and personnel should ensure systems are in place to prevent hearing loss. The level of noise in the cab of the vehicle is a concern. A hearing conservation program, believe it or not, is outlined in an OSHA standard, Title 29, Code of Federal Regulations, 1910.95, subsection C. There are many conditions that can affect a person's vision, including the following: color blindness, farsightedness, nearsightedness, eye irritation, age, medical conditions, incorrect eyeglass prescriptions, self-tinting eyeglass lenses, failure to get annual eye exams. If you wear contacts during the day and then glasses at night, make sure the prescription is up to date. Do not just rely on the eye exam required when you renew your license. Do it yearly, class. Be aware of your body and be sensitive to any health problems, injuries, or illnesses. Do you have any physical ailments that could affect driving, such as strains and sprains, GI distress, cold or flu or seasonal allergies, severe headaches, vision problems? Driving while tired is extremely dangerous. Sleep deprivation can be a common cause of driver error. Okay, let me ask you some questions. How many hours of sleep do you get per night? Okay, how many hours of overtime do you work every week? And how many other jobs do you work? And how long is your commute? And what other activities must you do on top of everything else, such as school, family, and parenting? It is extremely important that EMS providers ensure their safety and that of their partners, patients, passengers, and the public by being aware of the signs of drowsy driving. Sleep deprivation is a common cause of driver error. Most adults require 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Let me ask you a couple questions. Have you ever fallen asleep in your personal vehicle? Or have you ever just driven past your exit while deep in thought? Let's talk a little bit about signs of a drowsy driver. They are the following: difficulty focusing, frequent blinking, heavy eyelids, daydreaming, wandering or disconnected thoughts, microsleeping, which is a brief break with consciousness in which you lose awareness of your surroundings and momentarily enter a state of sleep, trouble remembering the last few miles driven, missing exits or traffic signs, yawning repeatedly or rubbing your eyes, trouble keeping your head up, drifting from your lane, tailgating or hitting a shoulder rumble strip, or feeling restless and irritable. All of these are signs of a drowsy driver or a fatigued driver. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates that 100,000 police reported crashes are due to driver fatigue each year, resulting in 1,550 deaths, 71,000 injuries, and $12.5 billion in losses. Nearly 71% of Americans drive a car to and from work, according to a 2001 poll. 27% of these drivers said they have driven drowsy at least a few days a month. 12% admitted they have driven drowsy a few days a week, and 4% admitted they are drowsy almost every day when driving a car. They are just the tip of the iceberg, since currently it is difficult to attribute crashes to sleepiness. Most crashes or near misses occur between the hours of 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning, or 12 a.m. and 2 a.m., or 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. I want to try to play this video, class. This video is going to feature drive cam footage of a collision involving the ambulance. The emergency vehicle operator is sleeping actually behind the wheel. I'll play this video a couple of times for you. Oh! One more time. What? Look at the driver's eyes. Oh! Now let me say this to you. If you need over-the-counter medications or Red Bull or any kind of energy drink to stay awake, you basically need to sleep and not report to work. All right, that's the rule of thumb when you're driving in an emergency vehicle. EMS services should create a zero-tolerance policy for alcohol and other substances that would impair the emergency vehicle operator. Regardless of state laws on marijuana use, employees must follow their employer's standard operating procedure of zero tolerance. This has already been decided in the Supreme Court decision. You need to practice techniques to increase your focus. Maintain a safety-first attitude. Take the necessary steps to reduce the effects of stress and emotion. And also, understand the importance of physical preparedness to operate an emergency vehicle. Now, class, this is going to conclude lesson 6 on your emotional state as an EMS provider, which includes your mental, emotional, and physical preparedness. By now, you should have a pretty good understanding that you should report to work in good physical condition, get plenty of rest, okay, use the 5 keys of defensive driving, and keep your head on a swivel at all times. Also, you should understand that you are the one that is responsible when you're driving that ambulance for the safety of you, your partner, the patient, and the motoring public, and that the law holds you accountable to that. If you have any questions or concerns about what was presented here in Lesson 6, please feel free to contact me by email or call me by cell phone. I look forward to seeing you back at the next Zoom meeting or in class. And thank you for listening to Lesson 6 of the EMS Vehicle Operator Safety course.